and welcome to today's webinar, Augmented Reality in the Classroom. We are excited to learn about this cool idea in education and technology that's now being used a lot in education. And we have two middle school science teachers who I'm going to introduce in just a few minutes, who are going to share a little bit about augmented reality and how they're using it in their classrooms and how you might be able to take that and use it in yours. But first, I'm going to do just a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, if you are hearing my voice, you are connected to the audio. And if you will keep your mics muted, I've muted everybody's phones as you joined in the call, so please just leave your line muted. That way we will not have background noise and distractions that can sometimes come from unmuted phones. If you have not already done so, please open up the chat window. If it's not open, on the right side of your screen, just click on the chat icon that's up in the top right corner of your screen and use that chat throughout the call today to ask questions of our presenters or each other, or share ideas that you have, or maybe ways that you've seen augmented reality used in, that you've used it, or that you've seen it used in your classroom, or maybe in some sort of demonstration or something. One little quirky thing about our chat box, you need to select everyone from that Send To drop-down. By default, it lists only the presenter or the host. Right now, it probably says me unless you've selected everyone. In a few minutes, I'm going to pass the presenter rights over to Amber, to one of our presenters. So at that time, that Send To might change to her, or it might change back to me. So just make sure that that Send To always lists everyone so that everybody can see your comments and questions. We want this to be a conversation amongst all the participants, so please utilize that. And just a little bit from our office, some upcoming professional development opportunities that we have. I've now done 3 webinars in a week, a week. So we're going to have a little break going through, I think it's about 3 weeks of fall breaks, I feel like, in the state of Indiana. So our next webinar will be on November 1st. And I'm still working on firming up all the presenters in the description, but we are going to be talking about technology and reading instruction on Tuesday, November 1st at 4 p.m. Eastern. So watch for more information to come about that. We'll be tweeting that, and then that will also be on our e-learning lab page on our website. We began a book club this week. We began our fall book club. And we are reading Kids Deserve It, Pushing Boundaries and Challenging Conventional Thinking. It is not too late to join in. We started this week, but you can still order the book, get the book on get the digital book on Amazon. However you want to get it and join in the conversation. You can start a week or two late if you need to. And we know how teacher schedules get. Some people, get a lot read early on, and some people have to take a little break, or, things come up. So this is really a flexible opportunity to participate in some kind of a different kind of PD. We do this all, it's a book club, but it's all in a blog. So every week, every Monday, I post kind of a question or a thought about that week's reading. This book has really short chapters, so we're reading 3 chapters a week. And then you can make comments about that question, comments to other people's comments. Again, this is all for your benefit, so however you're getting the most out of it. And then we do award PGP points for the book club. So if you're looking for professional development and or PGPs, that's a good place to go. More information can be found on our website. And then also Twitter. Hopefully you all are connected with Twitter and utilizing the INELearn hashtag to connect to other educators in the state. We also have Twitter chats every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. This week's topic is training versus coaching, how to avoid leading with the technology while helping teachers understand how to navigate and use tech tools. So if you are a tech coach, and I think we have a couple of those in the webinar today, and that's an interesting topic to you, please join in that conversation tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And I think that is all from my end as far as the housekeeping and what we have going on. We will also be at ICE, at the ICE conference, which is next week, the week after. It's hard to keep track of what the weeks are. But the ICE conference is coming up, and our office representatives will all be there. We would love to say hey to you all, so make sure you stop and see us at our sessions that we're having at ICE. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our two presenters today, Amber and Jeremy Ziegenbein. They are both science teachers at Scottsburg Middle School, and they are really excited about augmented reality. We saw them at a conference this summer, and were really interested in what they were sharing and thought it would be great to share with the larger community. So I'm going to pass it on to them. I think they are encouraging you guys to have Aurasma if you have a mobile device, if you have a phone or a tablet with you. Make sure that you have Aurasma installed, because I think they're going to share some things with us, and I just installed it as we were getting started. I had forgotten to do that. So Amber and Jeremy, can you all hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you. Okay, I'm going to make you the presenter, Amber, and then you should be able to share your presentation. And again, everybody who's on the call, make sure that if that send to drop-down changed from everyone, make sure you select everyone, and utilize that chat to ask questions as they're going through their presentation. And take it away, guys.
All right, well, welcome everyone to our Augmented Reality in the Classroom presentation. We want to do a little bit to just introduce ourselves really quickly here. I am Mrs. Z, that's what the kids call me. Ziegenbein is difficult to learn. I have been teaching for 16 years. My master's is in educational technology. I've taught 3rd grade, 6th grade English, 6th grade science, and I'm currently teaching 7th grade science. I've taught at Salem Community Schools in Indiana, and I also taught in Las Vegas for 11 years. And now I am back home again and teaching at Scottsburg.
And I'm Mr. Z, and this is year 17, and you can see on the screen some of my credentials. And we've been kind of following each other around for the last several years, and we both teach middle school science, and we both try to do as much techie kind of stuff as we possibly can in the classroom.
We also both presented at our conference, Digipalooza, that Scott County School District 2 holds every summer as part of the Summer of E-Learning, which is where we got to see the Department of Education people. They came in to see us. And we also got the privilege of presenting at ISTE this summer in Denver, some of the augmented reality stuff that we're going to be sharing with you today. So without further ado, what is augmented reality? Hopefully everyone already has some idea. The official definition is a technology that superimposes a computer-generated image on a user's view of the real world, thus providing a composite view, which is a very lengthy definition. So what does it mean? In the classroom, basically a trigger image is scanned, which is a picture, not unlike a QR code, but a little more detail-rich, and it looks better on the wall. And then you play some sort of a video or content over that trigger image. The first thing I wanted you guys to do, I actually have embedded several trigger images that are examples that I use in my classroom and that Jeremy uses of things that we've created and things that the kids have created. So if you have downloaded Aurasma, you are going to have to follow me. That is one thing about Aurasma. When you create augmented reality, it's super easy, but your users have to follow you in order to be able to have your images trigger for them. So if everybody could open up their Aurasma first, and then you're just going to go to the magnifying glass and you're going to search for me, A. Ziegenbein, and I should pop up the top of the list as A. Ziegenbein's public auras. And when you get in there, if you choose that, it'll give you the option. There's a little button underneath of it that says follow, and if you click on that, you'll be following me, and then you'll be able to view some of the embedded images that I have here in the presentation today. If I'm going too quickly, send us a note on the chat. It's kind of weird for me to get this whole, like, I can't talk to you in person or hear you. So if anyone's having difficulty, you need me to slow down, just send us a message on the chat.
Can you repeat that? Basically, if we go backwards here in the presentation, this is just a very simple, so basically when you log in, you'll just have to search for her. Now, as the instructions say on the screen there, if you just search for her and then you choose the public auras. Now, for kids, it's kind of tricky because the program itself asks them to log in and create logins, but what we both utilize is a classroom login so that the kids can view everyone's projects, and as long as they have the trigger images, then they can view them. But if you don't have the trigger image, then you're not going to have to worry about somebody else going in and hacking into the system or whatever and being able to use those things. So, all right, so we got it now. So let's go on ahead, keep moving.
All right, awesome. The first thing we want to talk about, there are different ways you can implement augmented reality in your classroom. You can use it as content delivery, where the teacher creates the information and the students just consume it. You can also use it as a student creation tool. We do both in our classrooms. We started small. I was the first one to start. I saw an augmented reality presentation at ISTE, I think 3 years ago, and I thought, wow, that's awesome. I want to do that. And so I started playing around with it. And I started by taking a project that I already did, which was the States of Matter scavenger hunt. I was teaching 6th grade science at the time, and we already had an assignment where the kids had to walk around the building and use their iPads to take a picture of a state of matter and put it in a keynote and explain it. And I thought, what if I can take this and make it augmented in some way? How can I do that? And so what I ended up doing was finding images of different scientists, and I used those images as trigger images. And then I used Chatterpix, which is an app that we'll talk about to aid in this process, and I created clues. So instead of the kids, they didn't really know exactly what they had to do when they started on the project. They knew it was going to be a scavenger hunt, but they didn't know what state of matter or what examples should be on which slide. And so I went through and created clues where they had to find the image in the building somewhere, and they had to scan it with their iPad. They had their earbuds in so they could listen, and the image triggered a video. And in that video, I gave them a clue where I described the state of matter, but I didn't tell them what it was. So they had to decipher the clue, and then they had to go find an example of that state of matter and include a picture and a description of why it was a state of matter on a specific slide in their keynote. And that's what they turned in for their presentation. One way that I've used augmented reality, my very first augmented reality experience, we had a few bumps. You do have to work with your tech department and make sure that the filtering within your building allows Aurasma to ping back, because it's not just an educational software. And so we got all that ironed out. Everyone has to follow the teacher who creates the material, and then everybody had access to it, and it was a fun, interactive assessment. The kids got up and moving. It was a really cool thing. The next year I went on with my wall of science. And the wall of science is just an interactive word wall. Lots of people in lots of disciplines have word walls, or some variation of a word wall. And so I used PicMonkey, which is online image editing tool. And I just chose the Facebook profile because it's a nice size image, and just created images with the words, all the vocabulary words on them. And then I started by putting a video with the definitions. So the kids can just go to the wall and scan it if they have a question about what a word is. When they're initially getting their vocabulary finished in my classroom, they can go to the wall and listen to the definitions. And then the kids started saying, I want to do that. And so it kind of became a hybrid where I did some of the videos and the kids did some of the videos. Just another example of how I've been using that in my classroom and how that works.
But there's various other things you can use this for. It's like the balancing equations that you see on your screen. I utilize this one because teaching 8th grade, I do half the year in chemistry, and that's always a very tricky kind of concept. So you could easily use this as also, like it says, an interactive worksheet, because all you have to do is link. So you could either create like a podcast of you teaching the concept or utilize something else that you found, and then that would be able to be able to show that. So it's not just a very basic kind of concept. I mean, you can basically look at it and you can create these interactive worksheets. We do have an example of this later, so I'm not going to go into big detail yet.
Another way that you can use the augmented reality is for the students to create the augmented reality. I did a lot of this last year. I do have an example of the National Park Geology Project that those of you who got your Aurasma downloaded and you followed me, you'll be able to take a look at that. It's a great way for me to be able to do presentations more as a gallery walk. We've all sat through, you know, a jam-packed session of 30 presentations a day and a period, and then you multiply that by 5 periods, and it gets to be a lot of listening to people talk. And so one way that I used, for all of these assessments, the kids had to create some kind of a video. The rock cycle, they had to create an interactive whiteboard video where they explained and taught me about the rock cycle. The National Park Geology Project has a couple different steps to it. And one of those was to create their own video about one of the components that I gave them. And so we linked that to an image. And Big Cell, pretty popular science unit for any science people out there, they had to create their signs, and they made those augmented reality so that we just walked around and we could scan each person's image, and then we could listen to their video and their presentation play as we went along instead of listening to it live. And the kids were able to get it a little bit more polished and didn't have quite as many nerves going with that. So here I have 2 sample trigger images. For those of you who have Aurasma on a mobile device and you've followed me, all you have to do is open your Aurasma, and if it's on, if you see little bouncing dots, which is what I see when I open mine the first time, all you have to do is train those bouncing dots over one of the images, and then it should see you should see a bullseye, and it should start to play. So you can kind of see how it works. The scavenger hunt, that was the initial one I did. You have to keep your phone or your mobile device trained on that trigger image for the video to play. As soon as you take your phone away, it's going to stop. There is a way to change that. When you use Aurasma Studio, you can create on a mobile device, or you can create via the web. The National Park Geology Project, if you get the little bouncy dots again and you train those bouncy dots over that picture of Grand Canyon National Park, it's going to trigger a video, a student-created video that this lovely lady did for me last year. But then we did this on the MacBooks, and so we took it a step further. And while that video is playing, if you double tap on the video, it will open in a new window. It will open a link to the TAC, which is an online, like a website creation tool that the kids had to complete as part of this project. So not only do you have the video playing that they made, if you double tap on it, it'll open up the website that gives you the complete project that they did, not just that one picture. So you can see it has lots of different applications. A lot more functionality when you do it through Aurasma Studio on the web. Has everyone, I don't want to move on if you haven't had a chance to take a look. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to scan those images and and see what they're like, I'm going to go ahead and move on because we have some more cool ideas for you. So I kind of tried to split the rest of these ideas down as far as content delivery between elementary and secondary. I wasn't sure who all was going to show up for the webinar. We have some more ideas here. Math practice. If you create your numbered flashcards as a trigger image, and then you create an overlay that has a visual representation of the manipulatives, it's a good idea. My son is in kindergarten, and he uses augmented reality in the classroom. He creates it, and he uses augmented reality for things like this, for math flashcards, handwriting practice. If they scan a letter, a little video pops up showing them the correct way to make the letter. So it does work all the way down to kinder. Definitely lots of applications for the higher grades as well. I talked a little bit about my vocabulary word wall. You use the trigger image. This is a trigger image, this one right here, Mohs hardness scale. I used ChatterPix again to create a video with a definition and a little bit more information that I wanted the kids to have. So if you scan somewhere around the chef hat on the H, it should trigger the definition for you. One thing I do want to mention, the creation of this is really very simple, and it takes no time at all. It's making the different components that can be a little bit time consuming, because you want to make sure that your trigger image is unique. So I couldn't just have the same gray background and the same white words with nothing else on the page. Each of my trigger images are unique and different, and they have extra little, like the chef's hat on top of it. The backgrounds are different. Some of them have a border. They're all different fonts. It's really important that you have that. When you're creating in the Aurasma app, when you're taking your trigger image picture, you do that in the app, and it will actually give you a little slider and let you know, hey, this is a green light, this is a great trigger image, or red light, this is bad, it's not going to trigger. You want to choose a different image that's more content rich. It does also give you the same, when you're using Aurasma Studio online, and you upload a trigger image that you've used, it'll tell you, this trigger image is a little sparse. Do you want to use it anyway? And you can try it, but sometimes you've got to go back and redo. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to implement that. It might take a little bit of finagling. If you're trying to do a 3D object also, that's another point where you have to take into consideration the reflection. I don't laminate any of my word wall words or any of my projects. I just print them out and try to keep them as neat as possible, because the glare off of that laminate can sometimes mess with the trigger. If you're trying to trigger a statue or a piece of 3D art or something like that, you've got to consider the height of your participants, the angle that you're viewing, you take the picture at, and the shadows or the sunlight. 3D images are hard, I won't lie. They're very cool, but they're kind of hard too. So don't get discouraged if the first image you take doesn't work. Just kind of keep playing with it. As an old English teacher, I love this idea of setting narratives. Students walk around either the room or the school campus, and they find a setting for their narrative. Ideally, they would choose at least 3 different settings for them to write a narrative about. And then you create a trigger image that's taped in that specific setting. Or you could put it on the ground or somewhere. You actually put a trigger image in the setting that they're writing about. And then they write their narrative. And a clue to where the next setting could be written into their narrative. So it's kind of like a mystery, a choose your own adventure. They go and find a trigger image, and then they read the story, and the overlay could be the student reading their story. And and then you have to move on to the next place and trigger the next image. It's a really cool idea to get kids up and moving.
So the Elements 4D, I use this one in my classroom. This is a app from DACRI that students can utilize, and you print out these little blocks, and you can use these blocks, and you can see on the screen there the picture of it. As they are scanning this, it will show you the atoms themselves for the elements, and it will also show you chemical reactions that may take place. Now, it doesn't like show explosions or whatever if you have something really cool like that, but at the same time, it will show you bonding, and it will also show you whether or not those elements will bond. So you can put a couple of things together. Unfortunately, it doesn't have all of the elements off the table, but it's got many of the elements that are on the periodic table. So it is something that works pretty well, and like it says, you focus on one, and then you can see if they bond and how, and it will show you balanced chemical equations, which is always a very complicated process for students to really get into. Geography also, it's a very simple idea. I used to teach geography as well, and using an atlas or a giant map, you can basically scan that, and you can link that to videos, because a lot of times, and I had a good friend of mine that taught geography in Las Vegas, and she showed a lot of videos for the kids because they were never going to see these places in themselves in person. So being able to link a map to a video so they can actually see what's going on there in real life instead of just pictures or instead of just reading it out of a textbook, that was something that was very simple, and pretty much every geography teacher is going to have maps all over their room, so you can utilize what you already have. You don't have to go out and buy other things or additional software or anything like that. You just go on ahead and download this app and take the map you have and link it to videos that you have or YouTube videos or however else you want to do that, and it basically gives them a chance to see what it is, and you can tie it to other little components of your geography lesson. So, I mean, it's a fairly easy thing that you could do, and like she's already said, it's really a very simple process to create this. And in terms of remediation, that's one of mine that's on the picture there. I'm pretty sure that's active, the one that's there, and it links to outside sources. I mean, let's be honest, we don't all have the opportunity to reinvent the wheel every time, so we are able to utilize other materials. Bozeman Scientific has a great channel on YouTube that he creates videos for everything. Mr. Anderson from there is awesome. And so this is linked to a video from him reteaching the concept, because no matter how often and how many times I've taught this, there's still some students that learn better hearing it a different way or hearing it from a different person sometimes. So utilizing an outside source to also provide that video, it triggers. And that's just a regular printed out worksheet. And if you print out the worksheet for every kid the exact same, they literally have the exact same trigger image because it's the same thing. So they can take that home. They can take that worksheet home and then be able to play that. Just focus their iPad or phone or whatever they have onto it. It plays the video, because we all know that kids go home sometimes and then they forget or didn't pay attention the first time or whatever else, and they need to be kind of retaught. So they can almost take care of their own reteaching through this kind of program, through this remediation. So it's a very simple kind of process for getting that information to them again, or for the first time if they didn't pay attention or wasn't even there.
And as you guys have seen, we've embedded our trigger images on technology. So, like our kids have one-to-one iPads. We don't print a lot of paper in our building, but if they have their own phone, they have their personal device, they could scan their image of the worksheet that's on their iPad, and they can still get that video so that they can work and listen to the video at the same time to get that extra help. As far as assessments go, instead of just giving content to the kids, I talked a little bit already about my scavenger hunt, which is just a different way to look at assessment. Gallery walk presentations, I love the augmented reality for this. I know Jeremy does too.
It's awful to, I hate to say awful, but it's awful to sit in front of a classroom for all day long and you hear the same speech over and over and you watch kids try to melt into the wall as they are doing their presentations. So it's a very interesting kind of thing. We don't have to sit there and listen to the same presentation over and over again. They can do it, they can polish it, they can make the video that makes it easier for them, and they can redo it as many times as they need to make it a good polished product. So we get to grade their best work instead of them being nervous and flipping out in front of the whole classroom whenever everybody's staring at them. They can do this in a completely anonymous setting, and they can do their video and really show what they truly know instead of them freezing up in front. So we can assess them more on what they truly know instead of whether or not they can publicly speak.
And our art teacher here in the building, whenever they're working on a piece of art, she has them do a reflection piece. And so they have to do a video of themselves where they explain the technique and how they applied it to their artwork. And so she has taken to, not full scale yet, but she will take individual pieces of art, and the kids will take a picture of what they created, and then they'll put those up. She'll put them up in the hallway. She'll put them up around the room, and they just link their video of them explaining the technique and how they used it and what their inspiration was. And it's a really cool way to be able to see everybody's work, and it takes that anxiety and that public speaking fear kind of out of it. It's still important, but sometimes you just want to know what they know. Book reviews, I love this idea. We're working on it with our media center to get this happening in our building. The students can read a book, and instead of doing, your normal book review on paper, they can create a video. We're very fortunate that we have MacBooks that the kids can use as well as iPads, and so we do a lot of iMovie creation here in our building. And so the kids can create a book review using cartooning or any of the apps we'll talk about later to help you with the augmented reality presentation. And the picture of the front of the book becomes the trigger image. And so if a student is in the library and they don't know what they want to read, they have no idea, they can go and open their Aurasma, scan the front of the book because it's the image, the trigger image is the book cover, and then they can see a quick review of the book, of what other kids thought about it. Really, really cool, really powerful tool to get kids engaged in reading and engaging other kids in reading in your school, in your classroom library, or in your school library.
I wish the theater would do this when I go to the movie theater, because the movie poster should play the preview for me.
And like I said, anything you wish. We are here to help you, give you big ideas, but anything you want can be done as an assessment, and anything you want can be created into an augmented reality experience. We do have some ideas also for improving culture.
Our Indiana Bicentennial is coming, here in November. We have our birthday, and our school we are starting a whole school presentation where students and teachers and classrooms and everyone involved, we're going to make a giant timeline around the center of our school, and we're going to put images up, and we're going to use Aurasma, and we're going to end up turning these into trigger images. So we were going to be able to focus on the figures, the dates, the times, all the things in Indiana history to kind of help along with that in teaching that bicentennial. So we are going to basically have these things. So we might have a picture of Larry Bird up, and then we're going to have somebody researching Larry Bird, and then we're going to have like some people from the space program and Gus Grissom and all of the big-time people in Indiana history with like Watson and Crick in terms of DNA research. And we're going to be able to put these videos, and it's going to be student-created, that we're going to basically augment, and we're going to turn all of these things into a gigantic interactive timeline for Indiana. And the kids will be able to scan it. And since we're one-to-one, all these kids are going to walk around, and they're going to see all of this. And it's going to turn it into something real for them. And it's going to turn into something tangible that they can look at, and they can really see exactly what has happened for our state. And it's all going to be student. And something like that is very powerful for something like this that only comes around every once in a while. So we're going to be able to celebrate our bicentennial so that we're going to use the new technology to show literally the 200-year history. So we're going to kind of link the two. The question came up, Mary asked, it's great, will you share it with the community? I want to go ahead and answer this out loud. we're still in a very juvenile process of this at this moment because a teacher came to me, my social studies teacher came to me and said, I want to do something like this. And so we started talking, and we've just gotten the whole school on board. So I would love to turn it into something like that, and I would love to have it almost have like a second open house or something where parents could come in and see it. I'm sure there will be a lot about the community with that, but at the same time, it's not, I honestly don't know how far it's going to be able to go. Our principal is incredibly tech savvy, and she supports all of these things. So I imagine there will be a public component of it in one way or another, but at least our kids are going to get it, and if they talk about it, then that's at least some publicity for something like this and getting people involved.
Well, and another option too is, you know, because you're printing off a trigger image, those trigger images could be taken anywhere.
Right.
So, you know, if you did a project like this and you wanted to involve the community, you could always take your timeline, your images, we could put it up at the courthouse or at City Hall. And
we have a history museum here in town for our county history museum. That would be something we could put up there.
So the great thing about the Aurasma is if you have the image, you have the overlay, you have the experience, you can take it anywhere that you want.
Right.
The yearbook is a really cool idea. I'm working with our yearbook person for this year to get this into our yearbook. You could make one of the yearbook photos a trigger image. You could create an aura for it. You could record a video of a band performance or a choir performance and then create an account in Aurasma as your school, have all of your people follow you, and then when you trigger that image from the yearbook, it'll actually play that concert, play a song from that concert, or a highlight reel from the year's, you know, football games, or the cheer block section, or anything. I mean, the ideas are limitless here, really. And the yearbook's full of pictures anyway. You might as well turn them into an augmented reality experience. You know, the teacher messages, you know, you could have a couple of teachers where their photo becomes a trigger image, and they're giving a special shout out, words of wisdom, a note from the valedictorian. I don't know. I'm kind of going crazy here because there are so many different applications that take something that everybody loves, everybody treasures. I have a yearbook from all of my years in school in a box in the garage somewhere, but I still love the fact that I can go to it. And in today's day and age where we can take it and make that, where you don't have to rely on your memory, you can actually go and you could replay the video of your choir concert. That makes it a really powerful, really cool experience, I think.
And even the faculty photo wall, something like that, at the beginning of the year, you could have the teachers do a short little introduction. So, yeah, that would be something very simple. I mean, because you can record that short video and you can link it, and that would be something great. A lot of times, we know teachers sometimes can't make it to open house, so life shows up. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen. So just anything like that, you can easily turn any photo into this augmented.
Student locker signs. Here in our building, every year, it's kind of a tradition that above the student lockers, we have teams in our building. And so each community, each team creates a theme for their locker sign. And we take a picture of the kids the first week or so of school, and we put that picture on a locker sign that has other information about them, their likes, their dislikes, their hopes. And it goes above we laminate them, we make them all nice, and they go above their locker, and they're there all year, so that it's easy for us to see, one, if everyone's where they're supposed to be, and it makes it easier for, you know, if there's ever an issue, and it makes the hall look pretty to have everybody's pictures up there. And so I've done this in the past. Jeremy did it this year with his kids, where they create their locker sign, and then they make their locker sign a trigger image, and they record a video of themselves talking about them.
That's what we did this year in the 8th grade. We had them do an All About Me video. So it was cross-curricular because, well, not really cross-curricular, but I taught the tech side of it in my science classroom, and I use it since I use it all the time. And then our English teacher did a lot of the writing components, so it allowed us to kind of work together. And it helped the kids a lot because not only did it teach them how to use this program a little bit better, it also helped them practice, and it helps them because now they're walking around the hallway trying to see everybody else's movie about themselves, and so it really builds that sense of community.
Parent involvement, and this was an idea that I heard of from a lower elementary teacher. If you have those kids who are nervous about starting school or going to school, you can have the parents send in a picture of them with their child at the beginning of the year, and then the parent could make a quick little reassurance, a little video, hey, I love you, I'll see you after school, you're doing a great job, I love you, anything that you wanted it to be. And the kids, if they were ever feeling stressed, or with your special ed community, we have kids who get all worked up and they need a way to settle down, and if they could just play and have a message from their family, everything's going to be okay, you just, calm down, we love you, have a great day. It's another way to use the technology to help differentiate and reach all the kids in a way that we haven't been able to in the past. This is just a big list of some of the companion apps for video and trigger image creation. One of the things that I always forget, I'm always like, oh, what app can I use for this and what app can I use for that? And one thing that I always forget is that everybody has a really powerful app, and it's called the camera. Because really, all you need, and I didn't even put it on here, I forgot about it again. The camera is really all you need to be able to create some really cool augmented reality experiences. I know that you saw on some of my trigger images, I use ChatterPix a lot. ChatterPix is free on iOS. It is super duper easy to use. You take or upload a picture, you draw a line, it makes the mouth move, you record your voice, you can add words to it, it has special little filters and frames and all kinds of fun stuff you can add to it, and then you're able to export it. You can export it to your camera roll, you can export it to YouTube, you can export it to Facebook. The kids use this a lot. It's free. I love that it's free. The only problem with ChatterPix is that you can only do a 30-second clip that way. So my kids get around that by doing a series of 30-second clips and then putting them all together in iMovie if they need to have a longer movie.
And I really use Explain Everything. But say Explain Everything is not free, right?
It is not free.
It is not free, but it's not that bad, and it's an interactive whiteboard, so
maybe.
Yeah, it's not that bad for the kids. But Explain Everything is you can do that interactive whiteboard, and you can show the animations, you can do voiceovers, so you can do your drawings. So I've used Explain Everything before in terms of showing the mitosis part of cell cycle. And so the kids would make an interactive video about showing that, so they have to draw it, and they show all the movement and everything, and Explain Everything it's not hard to use. I mean, it's a fairly simple thing, and all of these things, if you just search YouTube, you're going to find a how-to. So you don't need to really reinvent the wheel, and you also don't need to sit there and spend hour after hour trying to find these things and learn how to use these things. There are great how-tos for using iMovie or Explain Everything or ChatterPix or Telegami or any of these things on this list. So these are just some of the things for video and trigger image.
Telegami is also free on iOS. It's really cool. It creates a Gami, which is an avatar. You can pay for lots of upgrades, but the free version is totally functional. You can either choose a male or a female avatar. They have a series of backgrounds you can put the person in, and you record your voice. Very similar. You can change their skin tone and hair color, and they have a couple different outfits they can wear. I have some kids who choose to use that. Of course, you can pay for the upgrade where you can do text-to-speech. So you just type in what you want your Gami to say if you don't like your voice. PicMonkey is online. It is mostly free. You can pay for extras. PicCollage is another one if the kids want to, make a collage of their pictures. Most of these apps our school already has so that our kids have access to them and they've used them a lot.
See, the key thing is, I mean, an iMovie, they can record themselves. Or, I mean, I deal a lot with 8th graders. A lot of them are very camera shy. They don't want to be the one that's on screen because they're at that point where they're becoming very self-conscious. But this allows that extra modicum of animosity. So they are able to go in and just their voice, or maybe not even their voice, explain everything. They don't even have to use voice. They can use text, and they can just do subtitles on the video or something. So it allows them to have that little more comfort level because, and let's be honest, I mean, they prefer to hide a lot of times, especially in the middle school.
This is a by no means complete list. But this is a list of some of the augmented reality apps that we have either used in our classroom or we have heard of.
Or seen presentations of. Or
Aurasma obviously is there. It's free. The majority of these are free or at least have a free component. Free is good, especially in education. NASA Spacecraft 3D is one that I used in 6th grade when we talked about space exploration. It is amazing. It's made by NASA. You can hold the Curiosity rover in the palm of your hand. You can spin it around. You can make it move. It's just a really awesome thing. There are other satellites and other rovers. Also, Spirit and Opportunity are on there. And it's all from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory at NASA. It's really, really well done. The Solar System AR Free, I also used when we talked about planets. It is really cool because you open the app and then you just point to the sky and it'll show you what's there. It'll show you what the planet is. It has embedded videos that explain more about it. It's just a really, really cool app that you can use. Those are two that I really used a lot. Elements 4D.
Right,
Jeremy
I still use it. So there's a lot of things. I mean, and like she said, this is not a complete list. This is just a possibility. This is a starting point. So find the things you use. And it's not about reinventing the wheel, and it's about using the things that you use, what you're comfortable with, just putting in some sort of an augmented reality component to it. I mean, you don't have to redo things. I mean, a lot of people use iMovie, but now we can trigger that in a different way instead of just pushing play and, you know, showing on a big screen what everybody is, and you're just basically, you know, going on ahead and throwing your screen on the big giant overhead projector. There's more to it than that.
Aurasma is free on iOS or Android. Studio.aurasma.com right here is the link for online creation. There's a basic Aurasma tutorial for the iPad here, a basic one for the computer here. I prefer to create, if I'm doing something for the kids, I prefer to create it online in Aurasma Studio. You will use the same login information on Aurasma Studio and on the Aurasma app. However, they don't talk to each other. So if you are creating an aura with Aurasma on your iPad, it'll show up in your app on your iPad, but it won't show up in Aurasma Studio when you log in. Aurasma is a web-based app, so it would, you know, we're a Mac school, we're an Apple school, we're an Apple distinguished school, so we have to kind of stay with that. But it will work on, it's web-based, so any platform that you use for the Aurasma Studio and Aurasma on a mobile device, it'll work on any mobile device. So what you create on Studio doesn't show up. You can scan it with your iPad. You can share it. It's actually easier. The process of sharing it with people is easier when you create it in Aurasma Studio than what it is if you create it in Aurasma on your iPad. That's not to say I don't ever do that. Sometimes if I want to do something really fast, I'll just do it on my iPad. But I do like that Aurasma Studio allows you to just upload your image instead of taking one. So I can pull an image online and I don't have to take a picture of it and save it and all that kind of stuff. And then it also gives you all those other options. You can make the overlay or the video, you can make that play even when your device is pulled away from the trigger image. The first example that I had for you with the scavenger hunt, if you pulled your phone away from it, the video stops playing. In Aurasma Studio, you can change that to where, regardless of where the phone is pointing, once you've triggered the video, it will play anywhere. The National Park project that I did, if you do it on Aurasma Studio on the web, then you can add that extra component where you can make the overlay do other things. You can make the overlay play again. You could play another overlay. You can go to a web address. So you have a lot more options in Aurasma Studio, which is what I like to use for my creation. Here are some of the resources, some of the places that we found things from that we shared today. Here is our information. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Aurasma. We have a Married to Teaching blog.
Which needs work. We're in the process. We're trying to get some things up there. It's just...
We won't lie. We're really busy people, and it's kind of hard to blog.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot on my Coach Ziegenbein Twitter account either. So between coaching and teaching and everything else that I do, it's, yeah.
But this is all of our information. We are more than happy to answer any questions now. If you want to send those in on the chat, more than happy to answer questions for you. If you want to contact us on Twitter, you know, scan that QR code, check out our blog. We're not as good as we would like to be, but we have found that we do have this passion and this desire to share what we're doing with other people. And so we are...
Blogging hasn't really stuck yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. It will eventually. It's on the to-do list.
Too many hats going on in this family.
So like we said, any questions?
Well, the chat is quiet at the moment, so you guys must have either overwhelmed everybody with the information or you've answered all their questions. One just came in. Will we be getting a copy of the presentation? Since it's a Google presentation, would you mind sharing that with the attendees today?
No, if I get the email addresses, I can share that with the attendees. That's not a problem.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, or you can. I've got it. You sent it to me, so I can send it to them once I get the list. When I can download that, probably tomorrow. So, or you can send me if there's an updated. I don't remember if the one that you sent me was a locked one or what. So we'll communicate. You and I can communicate off the call.
Absolutely. And one question came in earlier about if we can update, and we will update. We'll try to put more pictures, some trigger images in this, so you guys can see a little bit more. We didn't know how much to put into it because we knew we had a limited amount of time, so we didn't want to just bombard everybody with showing them. But we can always add those in and have more things to scan and see some different things.
Excellent. Yeah, the examples were very cool to see what you guys had done, and I'm here at home running this webinar with my kids doing homework in the background, and my son, I could hear him in the other room when you guys were listing some, I think it was the yearbook examples, and I could hear him out there saying, oh, that's really cool. He's in marching band, so I think he could visualize like a picture of the marching band and then, you know, put your
yeah, that would be fantastic.
Song playing or whatever.
Oh, yeah. See, I would like to do something like that. I mean, you know, if you have a smaller school, you could have the seniors do that. Instead of those written messages or whatever, you could turn those into Augmented, and they could just scan the picture and see everybody's senior message. Now, of course, we're going to need to filter that some way, but at the same time, it would be kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, just like everything that is sent out for public consumption that's created by students, it's got to be filtered first. It's got to be checked for appropriate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
One example that I had seen, I think it was at one of the Summer of E-Learning conferences, was the Guinness Book of World Records. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but it was the one a couple of years ago that had some augmented reality pieces throughout it.
Oh, yeah.
That is really cool. There are a lot of cereal companies, a lot of cereal boxes have augmented reality components using Blipper, which is a different augmented reality app, but it's definitely being used more in advertising. So there are lots of examples out there of that.
We have a coloring book that's also augmented reality at our house for our son. So yeah, it's coming. It's getting to be a little bit of everywhere. I'm just still waiting for it to show up at the movie theater.
And that seems like such an obvious place. I mean, again, all of us have we're all carrying our smartphones around with us. So why not have that? It's so many schools are doing that with their books in the library, like you talked about. Do it at the movie theater too. Watch a preview while you're while you're in line to get your popcorn or to buy your movie ticket.
Right.
All right. Well, the chat. Oh, okay. So here's.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. So when devices aren't one-to-one, each iPad with Aurasma just has to be set up to follow the different people.
So like, I guess for class sets or for cows. Computers on wheels or however they're utilizing the technology in their school.
If you have the kids creating their own accounts, then they would have to be set up, when the kids log in, they would have to follow each individual person whose augmented reality they were wanting to view, which is why we created, I have a team login. And you can use you have to use an email address when you set up the account, but you can use your email address. I use my teacher email address, and then I just created one login for my team, and you could do it for, all of your classes or for yourself, so that all the kids log in. Now, everyone sees everyone's stuff. It's like they all own everything, but that is a much easier way to be able to see everyone's augmented reality.
Yeah, and you also log in. I mean, so you can log out of the app. So I'm assuming that question with they aren't one-to-one. So like on a class set, when you're finished using the program, you can log out of the program, and then of course when the next group comes in, they can log back in again if you were using individual accounts. But if you're using a group account, then it wouldn't really matter at that point.
All right. Wow. I think that seems like a great place to close. We have hit about 5 o'clock with some wonderful information. Amber and Jeremy, thank you. This was really some cool stuff, and I think seeing those examples that you shared, that's a great way to get people to actually understand like what it is and to see how it can really be used in the classroom. So we appreciate all that you shared with us today.
Thank you. We had a good time.
Excellent. Yay. Well, and thank you all for joining us today. We had a small but mighty group, and I did record this, so if you know of anybody who, from your school or from another school who was interested in this, who didn't get to see it, I am a little behind in getting my webinars posted, but hopefully I will have this up and online by the middle of next week. So again, thank you to Amber and Jeremy, and thank you to everybody who joined us today, and everyone have a wonderful Wednesday evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.